Start with Justine Johnson, and she comes from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, where she's the Chief Mobility Officer. I don't know, a week or two ago, I guess the press release came out, right, Justine, that you guys have a new round of grants available for prototyping mobility stuff. It gets complicated. And even I didn't totally understand what the grants are for. So let's get into that and discuss that. So let's start off with people may not know what the office mobility is, and why don't you start with that?
You so much for having me. The Office of Future Mobility and Electrification was created by Governor Whitmer in 2020, really with this focus of being this one-stop shop for all things mobility in the state. So we have the pleasure of working very closely with partners from Labor and Economic Opportunity on all things workforce, of course, Michigan Economic Development Corporation in terms of the economy and the mobility industry broadly speaking, our sustainability department, which is also known as Eagle, Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, and then Department of Transportation, so all things infrastructure, roads, and beyond. So we work very closely with each of those partners on a regular basis. For us, we always tell people mobility, as to how we've been defining it, is anything that moves people, goods, and information across land, water, and air. So this definition is very broad in nature and really focusing on all of the different opportunities of how we move all of the form factors of the future and the goods of the future using clean energy resources to do so. So really this comprehensive network of how we do our work.
So specifically, I wanted to ask how the office is helping to lead the next generation of the mobility industry. What are your actual activities,
Yeah.
both on a day-to-day basis and on a longer-term basis?
Yeah, great question. So first, we have something called the Michigan Mobility Funding Platform. And under the Michigan Mobility Funding Platform, we're able to provide grant funding to early stage companies who are looking to test and deploy solutions either at test sites, so there are a number of designated test sites throughout the state, or to real world deployments. So these are deployments like Electrion that has the first wireless charging roadway in the country, and that's located right in Corktown. So this is essentially a partnership between the state as well as the city, Michigan Central, Electrion, and City of Detroit, and all of these folks who come together to make sure that we have wireless charging technologies deployed in the U.S. here. So like that's one example. Under the Michigan Mobility Funding Platform, we also have funds available for those who are looking to prototype. And so I'll talk about that a little bit later because that's some of the fun stuff that we're talking about with our prototype grant program. Our partners there are Lawrence Tech University and Centrepolis Accelerator, which allows us to provide funding for those who are looking to make hard tech of the future right here in Michigan. So that's another way in which we do this work. We have an Advanced Aerial Mobility Activation Fund, and that's in partnership with Michigan Department of Transportation Aeronautics Department, where we do provide grant funding for those who are looking at the form factors that are in the air. And so that's around advanced aviation and drones and electric and vertical takeoff and landing, and as well as the infrastructure that's needed, digital and physical.
You mentioned Lawrence Technological University, and I have a dashboard where I'm looking directly at Riley Leonard, who's the project manager. So what's your role in all this, Riley?
Yeah, so I'm working closely with our team. Our program manager, actually, John Hagman, wasn't able to make this call, which is why I'm here. But I'm supporting all initiatives across the accelerator, and that obviously includes our Make It in Michigan prototyping grant program. So applications, as we mentioned, just opened. They've been open now for the last handful of days, and expected to close on July 7th. And then we'll have some down selection periods and everything where we'll go through reviewing all the applications with a review panel, and then confirm everything with the OFME team and Justine on what type of projects that we're looking to ultimately support based on strength and everything. So, yeah, I'd say at a high level, that's it.
Pat?
Okay, so tell us a little bit about some of the recent activities and wins in the industry that your office has been a part of.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think one thing we want to acknowledge is actually a few weeks ago, probably that was probably about 2 weeks ago, we did the Uncrewed Triple Challenge. And this was something that has never been done before, first ever, which was moving a package about 10 pounds autonomously, land, water, and air. So the Uncrewed Triple Challenge went off very successful in partnership with the Michigan National Guard, Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, the Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation, our office, bringing all of these partners together, bringing companies together to showcase dual use applications to move packages in an autonomous setting, land, water, and air. So we had a number of really great examples of how different companies are utilizing technology in that regard. The Prototype Grant Program, we actually launched this program last year. There was such great demand. We had 80 plus applications from around the world of
Wow.
people who were looking to make the next hard tech right here in the state of Michigan. That prototype grant program launched last year was truly a great, I would say, a big demand for how we can continue to build upon this work. And so, hence the reason we expanded our focus. And we now have a round two for the prototype grant program with a focus on autonomous systems and really thinking about the critical technologies that are going to be needed to address domestic supply chain gaps, et cetera. So really happy to be expanding this program to a number of different companies. And like I said, I think this would be a great opportunity for us to continue to leverage the strengths of the ecosystem, but also to help those who are eager of making the next thing, make it right here in Michigan.
Well, let's talk about the money. That's what all the entrepreneurs like to find out, guys like me who run businesses. And so I looked at it, and if I saw the number, the max is 100,000. Did I get that wrong, or is that
That's
correct?
correct. It's 100,000. It's a total of $2 million that's in the pool. So it's a $2 million pool for this next cohort or next round. And that money has been put together by my office, the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, our Defense Office of Aerospace Innovation, and as well as Lawrence Tech University and Centrepolis. So those are the partners who've put the resources together, about $100,000 per company, and with a focus on companies that are TRL or technology readiness levels 4 through 9. So these are companies who have a proven concept and are looking to build out on that concept, and also those who are market ready to deploy their technology. So this funding provides coverage for things such as product design, prototyping to manufacturing implementation, and supply chain planning as well.
Yeah, that was the, don't mean to interrupt, Matt, but that was my follow-up question is give me some examples of companies and how they can use this money. For instance, I would just using mine as an example. I have a software as a service company that I'm building right now. We're actually already done our verification and we're looking at building out the prototype. I'm not asking you if my company's eligible. I'm just using it as an example. Would that be one example or not?
Yeah, so if you have a company that, again, if you're at this phase where you are looking to get support, especially around manufacturing and connecting to the supply chain, yes, you could do that. If you're looking for opportunities, especially this low volume manufacturing, how do you get to this point where you expand from your prototype? You have a concept. Maybe you do have a prototype right now, but maybe that prototype needs to evolve, especially for it to make the most sense for you and your business. Those types of applications work. If you have anything that's focusing on, like, again, autonomy, specifically around mobility and especially around defense and electrical systems, that could be another opportunity that could be available. You could be anyone who has, from looking at batteries to power electronics and EV charging, all of those different types of autonomous sensors, control systems, all of those are parts and pieces that are important and essential to those who are looking to apply for said funding.
Okay, Matt. Sorry, I cut you off there. Well, go ahead. So,
That's all right. I was just going to ask. I read that preference is going to be given to companies that intend to make this stuff in Michigan, but the company that's applying for this doesn't have to be based here, right?
That's accurate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially the goal, and as I mentioned before, round one, we had companies, 80 companies from around the world who were one raising their hand and saying, I want to build it in Michigan. We want to continue to encourage that type of growth, no matter where you are in the world. Of course, the technology has to be built here. And as we think about deployments as well, thinking about that as well. So companies can come from wherever part of the world they may be, but the technology has to be located within the state.
Final question. Sounds like Price is right, right? What does the future landscape look like in Detroit and in Michigan in the world of mobility?
Yeah, I think the future landscape, I would say first and foremost, is very bright. And I say that because, Michigan is truly positioned as a global leader, especially when it comes to physical products. We know how to manufacture, it's in the DNA, it's in the legacy of the state. So continuing to think about how we will lead the charge, especially around physical products, around advanced materials, around manufacturing technology, will continue to be that future leader for all things hard tech. So that's going to be one thing that is continuing to be a focal area for us. I would say another big part of this is hard tech companies and specifically manufacturing is truly important for our economy and our future. That means jobs, that means continued investments, that means having this multiplier effect to our supply chain. And Michigan is rightly positioned for all of those opportunities. So I think our future is very bright. I think our manufacturing base is unmatched. I think we are rapidly evolving our infrastructure and really leaning towards more opportunities around hard tech innovation. So I am excited about that. I think a number of startups and high growth companies and small businesses are going to continue to just accelerate the rate of growth and opportunity within the state. So that's just my 2 cents.